a roller coaster ride, the Napoleonic Wars. The Napoleonic Wars sound like a snooze fest, right? Wrong. These wars were like a season of Game of Thrones, but with more cannons and fewer dragons. Picture Europe as a massive playground, and Napoleon is the kid who hogged all the swings. This series of conflicts from 1803 to 1815 involved almost every European power. It was chaos, intrigue, and enough drama to rival a reality TV show. Napoleon Bonaparte, a name that sounds like a fancy French dessert, was the main character. He wasn't royalty, he wasn't even tall, but boy, could he command an army. These wars were all about him trying to reshape Europe in his image, like a kid trying to mold his mashed potatoes into a castle. Spoiler, it didn't end well for him. Now you might be asking, why should I care about a bunch of old European wars? Great question. These wars were like the ultimate European drama series. They changed everything. Think of them as the original domino effect, but with cannons and cavalry instead of dominoes. Firstly, the Napoleonic Wars shaped the modern world. They influenced politics, borders, and even our daily lives. Ever heard of the metric system? Thank Napoleon for that. He thought measuring things in vague units like rocks and sticks was silly, so he introduced meters and liters. Practical? Yes. Exciting? Not so much. Secondly, these wars saw the rise of nationalism. Before this, people were more into their local regions. Post-Napoleon, they started feeling all patriotic. Countries began to unite under flags, anthems, and a shared dislike for Napoleon's bossiness. So in short, caring about the Napoleonic Wars is like appreciating the original binge-worthy series. Napoleon Bonaparte, the man, the myth, the legend. Born in 1769 on the island of Corsica, which sounds like a romantic getaway, but was actually a hotbed of local brawls and vendettas. Napoleon was the second of 8 children, and just like middle children everywhere, he had to make a splash to get noticed.
My rise to power was like an underdog story on steroids. Picture young Napoleon, a short, ambitious kid with a thick Corsican accent, joining the French army. I quickly climbed the ranks thanks to my knack for strategy and my ability to outtalk and outthink just about anyone. If there had been a Napoleon's Got Talent, I would have won hands down. Napoleon had big dreams. No, scratch that. He had colossal dreams. He wanted to be more than just a general. He wanted to be an emperor, and not just any emperor. He wanted to be the emperor of Europe. His ambition was so big it needed its own postal code. He crowned himself emperor in 1804, which was basically like saying, "I'm the boss now, deal with it." His self-belief was so strong, it could have powered a small country, or at least a very large ego.
So, what caused these Napoleonic Wars? Well, it wasn't just Napoleon waking up one day saying, "I feel like conquering Europe." Okay, maybe it was a little bit of that, but there were also some deeper reasons. First off, the French Revolution. Before it, France was a mess. People were angry, bread was expensive, and everyone had really fancy wigs. The revolution shook things up, got rid of the monarchy, and gave rise to a republic. But with all that change came chaos. Enter Napoleon, who saw an opportunity to bring order out of the chaos, like a very ambitious janitor with a sword. Next up, Napoleon's expansionist policies. Napoleon looked at Europe like a giant game of Risk. He wanted more territory, more power, and more people to boss around. He wasn't content with just France. He wanted Italy, Spain, Austria, Prussia, and Russia. Basically, if it was on the map, he wanted it. His expansion plans were like a kid in a candy store grabbing everything in sight. Britain, Austria, Russia, and Prussia weren't too thrilled about Napoleon's power trip. They banded together in various coalitions to stop him.
Early campaigns? Oh, they were like a series of surprise parties, except with fewer balloons and more bayonets.
Napoleon started by flexing his muscles in Italy and Egypt, showing Europe that he meant business. These early victories were like appetizers before the main course of continental domination.
In Italy, my campaign was swift and decisive. I moved my troops like a chess master, outmaneuvering larger armies. The Battle of Lodi and the Siege of Mantua were just warm-ups. He showed Europe that even a scrappy Corsican could outsmart seasoned generals. Then came Egypt. Oh, Egypt! I thought conquering it would be a breeze. Spoiler alert, I was wrong. While he won the Battle of the Pyramids, his fleet got annihilated at the Battle of the Nile by the British. Picture Napoleon standing in the desert, realizing he's stuck in a sand trap without a caddy. His Egyptian adventure was a mix of triumph, hubris, and the occasional camel ride. Back in Europe, my reputation was growing. I was becoming a household name, like the French version of a rock star. And just like a rock star, I had groupies. His soldiers adored him, calling him the Little Corporal. He led from the front, shared their hardships, and even wore a simple uniform to blend in. He was like the world's first relatable celebrity.
The Battle of Marengo in 1800 was one of those moments where Napoleon's luck and skill collided in a spectacular fashion. It was like watching a magician pull a rabbit out of a hat, except the rabbit was an entire army and the hat was Italy.
I faced the Austrians, who were confident they had me cornered. The battle started off badly for our short hero. The Austrians were pushing hard, and my army was on the back foot. It looked like we were about to be sent packing. Picture Napoleon furiously scribbling on his battle map, probably thinking, how do I get out of this one? Then, out of nowhere, General Desaix arrived with reinforcements. It's like he showed up fashionably late to the party, bringing the best dip. With fresh troops and renewed energy, Napoleon turned the tables. He launched a counterattack that was so precise and devastating, it left the Austrians reeling. The day was saved, and Marengo became a legendary victory. Marengo was a testament to Napoleon's resilience and quick thinking. He turned a near defeat into a brilliant victory with a dash of luck and a lot of guts. Section 7, Austerlitz, Napoleon's shining moment.
The Battle of Austerlitz in 1805 was Napoleon's magnum opus. It was his I have arrived moment. Picture a grand stage and Napoleon in the spotlight, delivering a performance for the ages. This was his ultimate flex, his masterpiece of military strategy. The battle pitted Napoleon against the combined forces of Austria and Russia. They outnumbered him, but Napoleon had a plan. He lured them into a false sense of security, pretending his army was weaker than it was. It was like a cat playing with a bewildered mouse. The Allies took the bait, and Napoleon sprang his trap with the finesse of a chess grandmaster.
On the foggy morning of December 2nd, I launched my attack. My troops moved with precision, cutting through the Allied forces like a hot knife through butter. The Russian and Austrian commanders were left scratching their heads, wondering how their grand plan had unraveled so spectacularly. Napoleon stood on the hill, probably thinking, I love it when a plan comes together. Section 8, European Conquests, Napoleon's Continental Buffet.
Napoleon's conquests across Europe were like a continental buffet, and he had a voracious appetite. After Austerlitz, he went on a spree, gobbling up territories like they were hors d'oeuvres at a fancy party. Austria, Prussia, Spain, no one was safe from his insatiable hunger for power. In 1806, he took on Prussia at the Battle of Jena-Auerstedt. It was a 1-2 punch that left the Prussians reeling. Napoleon's army moved so fast it was like they were on roller skates. The Prussians didn't know what hit them. One minute they were the cool kids on the block, the next they were Napoleon's latest conquest. It was a masterclass in blitzkrieg before blitzkrieg was even a thing.
Next up was Austria again. The Austrians must have felt like they were stuck in a bad sequel. At the Battle of Wagram in 1809, I once more proved my dominance. I faced a massive Austrian army and still came out on top. But Napoleon's most ambitious project was Spain. He thought it would be a cakewalk. Instead, it turned into a quagmire. The Spanish weren't too keen on their new French overlords. They used guerrilla tactics, ambushing French troops at every turn. The Peninsular War dragged on, draining French resources and morale.
Section 9. The Peninsular War, Spain's guerrilla warfare fiesta.
The Peninsular War was Napoleon's long, drawn-out headache. He thought conquering Spain would be a breeze, but it turned into a fiesta of guerrilla warfare. The Spanish resistance was like a never-ending game of whack-a-mole, with moles that had really sharp teeth. Napoleon put his brother Joseph on the Spanish throne, thinking it would be a smooth transition.
Spoiler, it wasn't. The Spanish people weren't thrilled about being ruled by a French puppet. They took to the hills, the cities, and just about everywhere else to fight back. The guerrilla tactics were brutal and effective. French troops couldn't move an inch without facing an ambush or a sabotage. It's like they were trying to navigate a minefield, blindfolded. The British, smelling an opportunity, sent the Duke of Wellington to aid the Spanish. Wellington was like the ultimate party crasher, showing up uninvited and making a mess of Napoleon's plans. The Peninsular War showed that even the mightiest empire can be bogged down by a determined resistance.
Section 10, The Invasion of Russia, A Frosty Reception.
The invasion of Russia in 1812 was Napoleon's grand, ill-fated adventure. He thought he could march in, beat the Russians, and be home in time for a croissant. Instead, he got a frosty reception that makes Siberian winters look like beach holidays. Napoleon assembled the Grand Armée, over 600,000 strong, and marched into Russia. It was like a massive field trip, except with cannons and cavalry. The Russians, however, had a trick up their fur-lined sleeves, scorched earth. They burned everything in Napoleon's path, leaving nothing for his troops to eat or use. It was the ultimate you-shall-not-pass strategy. As Napoleon advanced, we kept retreating, drawing him deeper into the vast, cold landscape. The Battle of Borodino was a bloody affair with massive casualties on both sides. Napoleon won, but it was a Pyrrhic victory.